An actor who's built an impressive roster of performances over the years is Leonardo DiCaprio. His evolution has been particularly interesting to see, and due to his success, he's been given the ability to be choosy with his roles. So despite his pedigree, he is not in as many movies as one might expect, and yet he has managed to work with several big directors, most notably Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino. When he signs on to a new movie, it's often interesting to see how he'll approach the character, and I'm going to count down my favorite performances of his, starting with Danny Archer in Blood Diamond. Playing the Rhodesian diamond and gun smuggler, a lot of the attention was towards the possible authenticity of his accent. I've seen both praise and mockery of the accent used by DiCaprio, but beyond that, I nonetheless thought he delivered a strong performance. He depicts someone often trying to keep cool under pressure, but also understands the danger of his work and how he could get shot at any moment. A significant part of his screen time is spent with Djimon Hounsou, portraying a man from Sierra Leone trying to locate his family, and they play off each other well as they deal with the horrific violence and find themselves at odds with each other at several points. A common characteristic of Leonardo DiCaprio's characters is a tendency to shout a lot, but he almost always does a good job of handling that aspect without going too overboard and over the top. He's able to show the change Danny goes through as he takes this journey from someone who only thinks about the value of diamonds to realizing the human cost that comes from them. Jack Dawson in Titanic. His role here is mostly known for making teenage girls swoon, but looking beyond the heartthrob status he attained with this film, he actually does a great job here. He provides the needed charm to make it believable that Rose would fall for him, and the connection and romance he forms with her is nicely performed by both DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. A lot of the movie would not work if the chemistry was not there, but it absolutely is. And so when the iceberg eventually hits the ship, there is this concern about what happens to them and if they can survive this ordeal. DiCaprio portrays Jack as someone just hoping to live life to the fullest, and even though he recognizes how far apart his and Rose's worlds are, his determination remains. Yes, the spectacle of Titanic is amazing, but even in a film like this, we still need strong performances to help create investment in the people we're watching. This is a kind of role that might seem effortless, but it's one that needs the necessary amount of charm and likability, and that absolutely comes through in DiCaprio's performance. Dr. Randall Mindy in Don't Look Up. Even though he's primarily known for his dramatic roles, I think Leonardo DiCaprio is just as adept at comedies, and playing this astronomer he does so well in showing his frustrations at the government's actions. He's able to show his development from initially being nervous about how to convey this important world-destroying information to eventually becoming annoyed when he and his colleagues are not listened to. He nails the comedic moments, but I think his best scenes involve him finally telling everyone how he's really feeling. It's difficult not to relate to him in that moment, especially during a time when people can only listen to important information through short snippet videos on social media. A part of this might come from DiCaprio himself, considering his own views on climate change, but he nonetheless remembers he's playing a character in a satirical comedy. Dr. Mindy is just trying his best to warn people and hoping those in charge take the right course of action, and DiCaprio conveys that well through both the big explosive moments and the quieter, more conversational scenes. Edward Daniels in Shutter Island. Playing a federal marshal investigating a disappearance on an island, DiCaprio taps into this man trying to figure out the topsy-turvy world he's been plunged into. He finds the perfect reactions to the strange happenings here and portrays the continuing trauma of his past. There are a lot of layers to this role that he expertly explores for his performance, and he shares a lot of great scenes with his co-stars, particularly Ben Kingsley and Mark Ruffalo. There are times when he really has to dig deep into the emotions felt by his character, and he nails them, particularly during the flashback scenes with his dead wife. All the while, he has to retain his composure as a detective as he runs around the island and is left perplexed by all the things he learns. This is a very physical role, but also one requiring a lot of psychological exploration. This is, of course, one of several collaborations Leonardo DiCaprio has had with Martin Scorsese, and it certainly won't be the only one on this list. Calvin Candy in Django Unchained. A truly despicable person, it's not hard for a slave owner to become a hateable character in a movie, but DiCaprio somehow handles the task of making Candy truly monstrous. He depicts him as someone with so much glee over his treatment of slaves, and we see someone who is way too casual about his cruel remarks. Through most of the movie, he tends to present this calm demeanor, even when saying these horrible things. But when he explodes, it's quite scary, and really shows how much danger Django and Dr. Schultz are in. The thing with Quentin Tarantino films is he never sugarcoats his villains and allows the actors to go all out playing them while still providing the needed dimension. However, the fact that even in Tarantino's world, a slave owner behaving like Handy is probably not too far from reality as to what makes this character so frightening, and DiCaprio really captures his horrific nature. When he's smiling, there's an uncomfortableness that runs through him, and when he bursts, that's even worse. His conversations with Django and Schultz truly pop, as to be expected with Tarantino's words and direction, and he commands our attention the entire time he is on screen. Rick Dalton in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This may be another Tarantino film, but he was given a complete polar opposite character from Candy to play here. What I love about Dalton's portrayal is the sympathy we have for him. Tarantino's made no secret of his admiration for actors like Dalton, and his fictional creation is one that feels fully realized. A large credit for that also goes to DiCaprio. He shows someone trying his best to get by, whether in television or appearing in schlocky movies meant purely for entertainment. He wants so much to prove himself as an actor again, and I particularly love the scenes on a Western show where Dalton brings so much to the table and proves he still has the chops. The friendship he has with his stunt double Cliff is wonderfully shown through the chemistry between DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. DiCaprio is able to show the sadness underneath this actor who wants to continue doing what he loves and gets excited whenever he sees one of his television episodes. Because of this sympathy for him, it makes the climax all the more wonderful to see as things take a turn in a way I won't spoil for you if you've not seen the movie. He brings the required likability to Rick Dalton and makes him into a believable actor of that era looking for the next exciting step in his career. Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street. A truly explosive performance through the film's 3-hour runtime, DiCaprio commands the screen as he portrays the lengths Belfort goes to get rich. As the narrator, he makes his intentions clear as he tells us the joy he gets from becoming rich even at the expense of other people. His frequent mocking of those who try to take him down adds to the unlikability of the character, and as he makes more and more money, he gets even more nuts and wild. Some of the highlights involve the physical comedy bits, like a sequence where he takes Quaaludes. One of the funniest moments in the movie, DiCaprio makes even Belfort crawling to his car hilarious. In typical Scorsese fashion, we eventually see how things come crashing down on Belfort, the repercussions of his outlandish behavior, and the charisma that conned many replaced by a pathetic figure. Probably not too surprisingly, there were Wall Street types who missed the point of the film's message, which is about how those fat cats take way too much joy from stealing money from others, and this is not behavior to emulate. They see Belfort as aspirational, which makes me think they stop watching the film at a certain point. But DiCaprio's performance remains excellent throughout, and he depicts Belfort's rise and fall perfectly. Frank Abagnale Jr. in Catch Me If You Can. A different kind of con man, DiCaprio brought the required charm and intelligence here, making it easily believable how he's able to convince people he is a pilot or doctor or lawyer. His cunning provides several hilarious moments, including his interactions with FBI agent Carl Hanratty. But Frank is also someone just trying to find his place in the world and wanting so much to settle down without the need to fool anyone anymore. So much of his actions are driven by his interactions with his father, with their relationship wonderfully shown by DiCaprio and Christopher Walken. He shows Frank managing to slip into these roles, although that boyish element never quite goes away, and this is subtly shown at various points. There's a heartbreak to several scenes too, as any moment of happiness could be snatched away at any time. Being a child of divorce himself, Steven Spielberg brought a lot of that to Frank's depiction, with DiCaprio following suit with his work here. Although what I love about Catch Me If You Can is the breeziness of this con story, and DiCaprio is key to that too. Apparently, the real Frank Abagnale Jr. might have exaggerated a lot of these events in his book, but if anything, that adds a further layer to the film and its lead performance. Howard Hughes in The Aviator. Playing the famous billionaire, Leonardo DiCaprio depicts his attention to detail when it came to his airplanes and movies. He's clearly an intelligent person, always willing to take a risk, and through both his comedic and dramatic scenes, we understand how Hughes would often get what he wanted from engineers, the film's censorship board, and several others. However, what also makes the performances succeed is how DiCaprio handles Hughes' germophobia and OCD. He provides the necessary sympathy as he copes with living in a world where everything and everyone seemed intent on making him sick, and the film shows the lengths he went to make sure everything was just right. His romances with actresses like Katharine Hepburn and Ava Gardner, and how he both charmed and frustrated them, is expertly shown too. Of Leonardo DiCaprio's 6 Oscar nominations for acting, this is the performance I would have voted for if I was an Academy member. He brought the right level of nuance to the role and understanding of the troubles faced by Howard Hughes as he navigated a disease-filled world and tried to make his ambitious airplane projects a reality. And now my number one favorite Leonardo DiCaprio performance is Billy Costigan in The Departed. Playing someone leading a double life, he's shown the mental effect this has on Billy as he pretends to work for the mob. There's so many ways where he shows how his upbringing plays a role in his choices and the stress that comes from this undercover work and being worried he'll eventually be found out. In order for the performance to work, it needs to feel authentic when he plays this pretend criminal for Jack Nicholson's ruthless mob boss Frank Costello, and show how he becomes part of this underworld. DiCaprio highlights the anxieties extremely well, along with keeping his cool and not showing any signs that he is lying. It's a multi-layered role that also shows the character's smarts as he tries to figure out not only what Costello is up to, but who might be the mole planted in the Boston Police Department. We, the audience, constantly see the wheels spinning in his head, but the criminals cannot, and DiCaprio successfully shows those sides to his character. It all adds to the tension in several scenes, and we just want to see things turn out right for him, although that's easier said than done in this type of job. It's an excellent and riveting performance, and one of the main reasons that The Departed remains such a highly rewatchable film. So those are my picks. Let me know your own favorite Leonardo DiCaprio performances in the comments, and I'll see you next time.